In the land of Rivka, the nation is divided by something known as the Shadow Fold. It's a huge wall of darkness filled with Vulcra, winged monsters that feed on humans. The fold was created hundreds of years ago by the Black Heretic, a man who could summon shadows. This divide has led 2 years of war with Fuda, the nation to the north, and Shuhan, the nation to the south. Rufkin troops come in 2 kinds, the normal soldiers and the Gishka, who practice magic and are hated because of the sins of the heretic. A legend says that one day a Gisha capable of summoning pure light would destroy the Shadow Fold and reunite the country again. In East Rivka, mapmaker Alina is discriminated against because her mother was from Shuan. She grew up in an orphanage because the fold ate her parents, but she still wished to cross the fold to find a place where nobody would care about how she looks. Nowadays, Alina travels with the First Army as a cartographer, and she's excited to see the fold up close. Meanwhile, in Kirk, Alina's childhood friend Mal is also with the army as a tracker, but he's trying to make some extra money by boxing. Thanks to his training, he defeats his opponent easily with just a few quick moves. Suddenly, a Gisha shows up and starts manipulating the air as he taunts Mal to fight him. But the organizers immediately cancel everything because it would be an unfair match. Afterward, Mal reunites with Alina, whose unit has come to Kir to join the next mission through the mountains. However, they learn they'll soon be separated again because Mal has been assigned to go on a special mission into the fold. Later in the evening, the cook refuses to feed Alina because she is half-Shu. Mal notices this and sneaks into Agrika's tent knowing magic users get better food. As he's stealing some fresh fruit, he's discovered by Zoya, a Gisha who tries to convince him to spend the night with her. However, Mal chooses to take the fruits to Alina. The next morning, Alina decides she wants to go with Mal and makes a plan. She secretly burns the maps of their destination and makes it look like a fallen lamp. Now, her whole unit is assigned to go on the trip as well. Soon, the ship enters the fold and is surrounded by deep darkness. They keep their lights out except for a single blue lantern to avoid getting monsters' attention, and Agisha controls the wind to keep them moving. They can hear the Vulcra roaring in the darkness, and bursts of lightning sometimes show them the debris left by others who fail the journey. Suddenly, the blue lantern goes out and a soldier lights a normal fire lantern, causing a Vulcra to land behind him and drag him away with its claws. The lantern falls and starts a fire on the deck, which causes more Vulcra to fly over and capture crew members left and right. The soldiers try to open fire to keep them at bay, and one of the monsters drops a body on the deck. Disturbing Alina, Agisha tries to use fire magic to fight, but the Vulcra isn't affected and immediately kills her. Mapmaker Alexei is so scared that he jumps off the ship and runs away. Suddenly, a Vulcra captures Mal, so he uses a dagger to hurt the creature's leg. Alina sees this and rushes to grab a weapon, shooting the Vulcra and making it drop Mal before it flies away. As Alina runs to Mal's side, a Vulcra captures her from behind. Alina is holding on to Mal's hand, not wanting to let go, when suddenly her entire body erupts in light. In West Rivka, the soldiers assume the ship was lost when suddenly Alexei runs out of the fold and faints. Meanwhile, in Carriage, a man is trying to pay Ipper his bet with some coins, but he can tell they're fake and proves it by shooting them. While the man is dragged away from the gambling house, the boss reminds Jasper to keep it quiet. Seconds later, KZ is visited by Inage, who brings news of a job that will pay very well. A wealthy merchant is looking for a team to cross the fold into East Rivka and retrieve something. Inage had tried following him to find out what his objective is, but the merchant had put up extra security. Some rivals also want this contract, so Kez must find a way to be chosen. The next day, KZ takes Jasper and Inage around the city to gather information and learns that the merchant is looking for a hard trender, a Gisha who can force people to tell the truth. In the meantime, Kaz's rival, Pekka, and his men appear at the office of a club manager and immediately hit him to capture him. Pekka knows that the club has a street worker with heartrender powers and threatens him to make him lend the girl to him. The manager refuses and gets killed. But when Pekka's henchmen look for the heartrender, he discovers she's already gone. It turns out Cass has already hired the heartrender. They go to the merchant's house and pay the security guard with fake money. By the time he realizes he was scammed, they're already inside. After some negotiation, the merchant Dresden introduces them to Alexei, who told everyone a bright light destroyed all the Vulcra. This is hard to believe, so Dresden wants the real story. Using Harder's power, they make Alexei confess that he saw the legendary Sun Summoner clean the area of Vulcra. After Alexei tells them Alina's name, Dresden shoots him and then gives Cass's group the mission. They have until sunrise to figure out a way to cross the fold and return safely with Alina, meanwhile in East Rivka. The rest of the ship comes with Alina and Mal unconscious on the deck and a few survivors. A flashback reveals that when Agisha went to their orphanage to test the kids for magic, Mal was injured and couldn't participate. Alina wasn't interested in going to Gisha school if it meant leaving Mal behind, so she hid with him to avoid the test. In the present, Mal is taken to a medic while Alina's checked on by a healer who uses her healing magic before taking her to see General Kirian. After hearing the story from the other survivors, Kirigan puts her through the test by cutting her arm. Everyone watches in shock as a beam of blinding light comes out of her, confirming she's the Sun Summoner. It's immediately decided that Alina will be sent to the Little Palace for training, and she isn't allowed to say goodbye to Mal before she's pushed into a carriage. During the trip, the carriage stops when it finds the road blocked. Two soldiers go to investigate only to suddenly be shot dead. At that moment, a bunch of witch hunters from the north show up and surround the carriage as they open fire. The Gishka immediately use their powers to defend themselves, but the fire and air users quickly get shot down. There are Tagisha that managed to kill a few enemies by twisting them from inside. But soon they discover there's a sharpshooter nearby, and they run to hide, only to be hit by a smoke bomb. Meanwhile, Alina is still hiding in the carriage, which also gets hit by a smoke bomb. An enemy suddenly opens the door and drags her out, hitting her when she tries to defend herself. When he's about to kill her, Kirian shows up and uses shadow magic to kill him. All the other attackers immediately run away, scared of Kirian. Afterward, Alina rides with Kryan and eventually arrives at Little Palace, the safest building in the country. Once Alina is alone in her new room, she allows herself to have a breakdown and she grabs a letter opener to keep under her pillow. In carriage, Cass is visited by Pekka and his men who immediately beat him up. Pekka tells Cass to abandon the mission or he'll kill him as he did with the manager. Then he leaves. Afterward, Cass discovers a woman from East Rivka gambling in his gambling house. So he makes his guards bring her in to ask her how she crossed the fold. She explains someone called the conductor flew her and her daughter in some special transport. She doesn't know where to find him, but an artist named Poppy may. Meanwhile, Inich is called by her owner, Madame Helen, who somehow knows about Dresden's job and makes a surprising proposition. She'll settle Inage is dead if Inage kills a man for her. She implies that the man is nothing but a human trafficker like the one who sold Inage and hands her an address where he can be found. Because of her religion, Inage doesn't kill, but she can't go on the mission if Helen doesn't free her. So she agrees to do it. While Kez gets the location of the conductor from Poppy, Inage surprises his target and ties him up while looking through his paperwork for proof of child trafficking. The guy explains he's just a smuggler who frees people from war, but he doesn't deal with slaves. Inage doesn't believe him, and when she's about to kill him, Kay shows up to stop her, almost getting stabbed by her blade. It turns out this guy is the conductor, and Helen knew it. She tricked Inage to sabotage her mission. Since obviously they can't kill the conductor, KZ offers Helen the deed to his gambling house, saying he'll either pay her in full forage after they're done with the job or she'll get to keep the club for good. Sometime later, a giant glowing stag appears for Alina, only for her to wake up. Suddenly, a bunch of maids enter her room and start preparing her to meet the king. The geisha Taylor Genya uses her magic to emphasize Alina's beauty and get rid of any scars, but Alina asks to keep the one on her hand. Once she's ready, Kirian takes her to meet the king and queen of Rivka, and the queen immediately makes racist comments. Then, Kirian fills the room with shadow and grabs her wrist to amplify her power, causing light to erupt out of her and create a bubble of brightness around her and Kirigan. Everyone claps, and the king gives Kirigan permission to train Alina personally. While all the other geisha give her a warm welcome, Zoya pretends to hug her while whispering racist things in her ear. The next day, Alina is taken to her first training session. She remembers some of the basics Mal taught her and challenges Zoya to a fight. But Zoya has more training and easily overpowers her. When Zoya makes a naughty joke about Mal, Alina gets angry and punches her in the face. So Zoya retaliates with wind magic, knocking her out. Alina sees the stag again before waking up. Afterward, Alina goes to the library because she remembers a fairy tale about a stag. There she runs into the opera, the king's spiritual advisor. He tells her the real story of one of the first geisha called the Bonesmith who wanted to amplify the power of magic users. He used his magic ability to create animals from his own bones and infuse them with power. One of those animals was the stag. If a geisha kills one of these animals and melds a piece of its bones to theirs, that geisha's power will be greatly enhanced. Then the opera walks her to a cave where Alina meets Bogra for her next lesson. Bagra hits Alina on the shoulder to make her activate her power to no avail and points out she was only able to do it for the king because Kirigan enhanced her power. Then she kicks Alina out, saying she can't train her until Alina believes she truly is the Sun Summoner. Meanwhile, in Westerivka, a heart trender named Nena uses her magic to avoid paying at a hotel and gets a nice room in the process. She's waiting for the conductor because she can get him into Little Palace, but she's found instead by a group of witch hunters from the north. She tries to use her magic to kill them, but Abola is thrown through the window and captures her. Nena tries her best to defend herself, but there are too many men who quickly overpower and kidnap her. She's sent to a ship and chained up with other geishas to be executed in the north. By the time the conductor and the others get there, it's too late. However, Cass refuses to give up and says they'll figure out how to get into the Little Palace once they get there. To cross the fold, the conductor will require 3 items: 20 pounds of alabaster coal, a peck of Mitchell, Jera, and a goat. The team splits to gather the team is, and while CZ gets the goat, he notices the conductor slipping into the tent of a West Rift and Revolution rally, which makes him suspicious. Later that night, the conductor leads Cass and Anage to train tracks near the border of the fold, where he has a small train engine. Suddenly, they hear some shots and see Jesper running toward them while a group of men are chasing him. It turns out he gambled the money and lost. So he stole the coal and now the owners are after him. Thankfully, Ipper boards the train with the others before he gets shot, and as they get ready to leave, the coal owners try to get closer only to step on a bunch of hidden mines. The train manages to take off, but after traveling for a while, they're found by the Vulcra. Usually, the conductor outruns them by going faster, but they can't now because Jasper brought 16 pounds of coal instead of 20. There's a pike in front of the train that kills a few Vulcra as they pass by, causing their blood to slip inside. A Vulcra accidentally gets stuck on the pike, and now the train has extra weight, so their chances of making them are lowering. Jesper is terrified and nervous, so the conductor makes him grab the goat because it's here as emotional support. At that moment, Avalra lands on top of the train and starts breaking it. But Jesper has calmed down thanks to the goat and starts firing very accurate shots that scare all the monsters away. Unfortunately, Avalra lands again on the train and makes a hole to peek inside. But Jesper concentrates and makes a perfect shot to send it away. The extra boost they got from the creature successfully sends the train out of the fold. Sometime later, it's revealed that Alina and Mal have been writing to each other, but the letters have not reached either of them. One afternoon, a general mentions that Kerrigan is offering a trip to the Little Palace as a reward to any soldier who can find more of a stag. Mal recognizes the stag drawing as one of Alina's and volunteers to do it, teaming up with two friends using Mal's expert tracker skills. They track the stag north into the mountains that separate Rivka from Fuda. Soon, they enter into Furin territory and are found by the enemy. Mal fights against a man with a knife, and after lots of struggle, he disarms the guy and kills him with his own weapon. Then he tries to help his friend only to get an arrow to the leg. Thankfully, his friends help each other and manage to win the fight. However, two more soldiers are hiding in the trees and suddenly open fire with a machine gun. Mal gets hit in the shoulder and faints, dreaming about his early days in the army. He heard that the quartermaster said something racist to Alina, so he hit the man with a bottle. Mal was put in a cell next to Alina's, and they noticed that they now had matching scars. Seconds later, Mal wakes up and quickly shoots the last two soldiers who just finished killing his friends. As he cries in grief, Mal hears a noise and suddenly sees the stag among the trees. A few hours later, he's back at the base all safe and sound. Sometime later, Alina goes back to Bra to be properly trained. Baghra is very strict and keeps hitting her as she fails, assigning her lots of reading and correcting her sleeping habits. As days pass, Alina's magic starts improving, and she manages to summon a small ball of light. One afternoon, Baghra gives Alina some tea that makes her revisit an old memory. On the day of the Gisha test at the orphanage, she and Mal were caught when they tried to hide and brought to do the test anyway. Mal couldn't get tested because he was injured, so Alina cheated by getting an injury in secret, causing the test to come up negative. Baghra thinks it's just more evidence of Alina holding herself back for the sake of others. Later that night, Alina goes for a walk around the little palace and finds Kirian still worrying over his war plans. He admits that he feels hopeless and alone as the shadows get worse around him. So Alina grabs his hand, bringing light around them. It looks like they might kiss, but Alina leaves before anything happens the next day. Alina checks with the mailman, but there are still no letters from Mal, assuming he's forgotten about her. She finally embraces her destiny and runs to Bra to show her a big ball of light. When she returns to her room, she asks Genya to get rid of her hand scar. In East Rivka, Cass's group learns that the Royal Archives has a copy of the Little Palace blueprints. So, the trio plans a heist while the conductor is tasked with finding a contact that can help them. Kuz shows up at the Royal Archives pretending to be a sculptor who needs the dimensions of the Little Palace for a commission he has to do for the king. When the clerk goes to check the blueprints, drops a piece of phosphorus that follows the man and creates a secret trail. In the evening, Jesper pretends to be a guard to turn off the lights in the archives, allowing to sneak inside. She follows the glow in the dark phosphorus and finds the blueprints, which she makes a copy of. Before she can leave, the lights are turned back on and a guard appears, so she carefully sneaks around to avoid being seen. Then, the guard closes the door behind him, but thankfully, Jesper shoots the lever when the main clock strikes 2, so the shot isn't heard. Inage gets to escape and reunites with Cass, who is also dressed as a guard. Afterward, they meet with the conductor who has befriended a group of circus performers that will be part of the winter fete. At the palace, the conductor caused an accident to make their aerial artist fall and get hurt. Then he introduced himself as a manager with the perfect replacement. Inage impresses everyone with her athletic skills and she's accepted as the new aerial artist. Then Jesper shows off his shooting skills by firing off a card from Inig's mouth while looking in the mirror. He's accepted into the circus as a new act. So now Cass will have to find his own way in. The next day, the circus is accepted into the royal grounds. Is dresses as a guard and snoops around the palace, discovering there's a secret door leading to a fitting room for the Gisha. Meanwhile, Alina gets ready for her big debut. A fabricator geisha called David brings her special gloves made at Cryan's request, which will amplify her powers. Alina tests them and manages to make two separate beams of light, but then she gives them back and proves she can already do that by herself. Then Alina notices all the artists outside, so she convinces Genya to let her have one last day to enjoy herself before joining the war. Together with a guard, the girls go to see the circus do their tricks, and Jesper overhears them talking. Now he knows the face of their target. Later, Alina chats with Kirian, telling him she isn't nervous about her debut because she finally feels like she belongs. Then she kisses him. When the party finally begins, Kiss pretends to be a guard again and gets a stain on his uniform on purpose to get replacements, which he gives to Ayaj and the conductor so they can sneak around as well. A fire geisha entertains the public with some flames, but soon Alina takes over the stage. After Kirian fills the room with darkness, she summons two balls of light and does some tricks before lighting up the room. Everyone is impressed and bows to her as they call her a saint, including Ayaj. Meanwhile, the conductor uses a special stone to open the door to the fitting room and hides in it. When Alina arrives, instead of kidnapping her for Cass, he slits her throat on behalf of the rebellion. At that moment, Genya comes in and starts fighting him, overpowering him with a few quick moves. However, the conductor shoots her and runs away only to be captured by soldiers in the hallway. Then, Genya rushes to check on the body who turns out to be another girl with an illusion to make her look like Alina. His had already known this because he saw the two dresses in the fitting room, or that's why he sent the conductor after the fake Alina, suspecting he would betray them for his cause. At the same time, Maul arrives to give Kirian the news about the stag, but he refuses to mark the exact location on the map until he sees Alina, while Kirian goes to look for her. Maul is approached by a guard working for Bagra, who takes him into a cave and tries to kill him. So, a fight ensues. After some struggle, the soldier pushes Maul further into the cave, and he discovers the body of the rider who brought him here. The soldier starts throwing knives at Maul and hurts his stomach before hitting him with a chair. Then, Maul starts fighting back with a fire poker. The soldier reveals she has magic and bends the poker to fight back. But after a few moves, Maul manages to stab her and knock her out. Back to Kirian. He brings Alina to his quarters, but doesn't tell him about Maul. They start kissing and things heat up. But they're interrupted when a guard comes to inform Kirian of the attack dot. As soon as he's gone, a hidden doorway opens and Bra walks in. She pulls Alina into a secret tunnel, saying she needs to leave the palace before she becomes a slave. Bagra explains that Kirian doesn't want to eliminate the fold. He wants to expand it and use it as a weapon. Kirian isn't just any geisha. He's the original black heretic who created the fold and transformed humans into the Vulcra. Alina refuses to believe it until Bra begins controlling the shadows, revealing she's Kirian's mother. Furious, Alina wants to fight against Kirian, but Bogra points out she isn't strong enough yet and sends her to hide in the food storage where she'll be guarded by some geisha that are loyal to her. Alina pretends to follow her instructions, but leaves the palace because she's tired of being someone's puppet. She hides inside a carriage and is seen by Jesper, who stole that carriage by getting dirty with the stable boy. Nearby, Kirian discovers that Alina is gone and goes looking for Maul, but Bogra tells him he's dead, thinking her soldier killed him. However, Maul is actually behind a tree. Hearing their conversation. Afterward, Kirian and Zoya interrogate the conductor. He tries to blame it all on Cass, but Cryan knows that the conductor has ties to the rebellion and kills him with shadows. Meanwhile, Ayaj and Cass are noticed by a fire geisha at the party, so they split and try to lose him. The geisha follows them into a chapel, and Cass uses the chance to surprise him from behind, quickly breaking his hand to stop him from doing magic. However, this geisha only needs one hand, but before he can throw a fireball, Ayaj kills him by throwing a dagger at his head. More guards are coming, so the duo rushes outside to reunite with Jesper, who tells them he's got the Sun Summoner. As they leave in the carriage, moments later, Alina uses her magic to open the trunk of the carriage and finds the trio waiting for her. They offer her safe passage through the fold to West Rivka, but Alina doesn't trust them and uses her powers to startle them. Inage isn't too affected, but she still lets Alina go dot as she walks around town. Alina bumps into two soldiers who recognize her as Shu and start harassing her. So she punches one and blinds the other with her magic before running away. After going through a few narrow alleys, she makes it to the woods where she finally reunites with Maul. They keep running until they're far enough from the soldiers and finally understand they haven't been receiving each other's letters. Maul also tells her about the stag, and Alina realizes Kirigan stole the drawing from her journal, confirming Bagra's story. After sharing a hug, they keep moving and find shelter for the night. Since the cold is awful, Alina creates a ball of light to keep them warm. The next morning, as Alina tends to Mal's wound, Alina decides that she wants to go after the stag and amplify her power so that she can defeat Kirian. In town, Kirian and his men find the stolen carriage, but when they open it, a small explosive goes off. This alerts Kaz's group that they've been found, so they split up to divide the Gisha army. The sister of the Deadfire Gisha recognizes Inig's knife and immediately begins shooting flames for revenge, only to accidentally hurt civilians instead. Jesper hides in a laundry shop, but he's followed by a heart trender who can hear his heartbeat. Still hiding, Jesper starts shooting the Gisha, always making the bullets hit the guy in the same exact spot. Eventually, his bulletproof clothing wears off and the bullet bruises the Gisha, so Jesper uses the chance to knock him out. On the street, Inage attacks the fire Gisha with her blades and has to move fast to dodge the flame shot at her. Inage manages to hide and surprises the Gisha with her blade, stabbing her in a non-lethal spot because she doesn't want to kill again. However, when the Gisha swears to kill every person Inage loves, she has no choice but to end her. Nearby, Zoya goes after Cass, moving the crowd with her wind powers only to discover that CZ gave his clothes to another guy. However, Cass is still cornered by Kirian, who begins filling the alley with shadows, tells him that Alina fled by her own choice, and throws a small explosive as a misdirection, managing to escape. Once Cass's team manages to regroup, they steal Kirian's carriage by quickly knocking out the soldier inside. Kryan doesn't want to go after them because Alina is his priority. So, David points out that Genya gave Alina a ring made of a rare metal not native to Rivka. If David gets within 1 mile of her, he'll be able to sense it. So, they use this skill to start tracking her. They also hear from the soldiers defeated by Alina that a tracker asked for her, which makes Kirian realize she'll be going after the stag. Meanwhile, the ship carrying Na has been destroyed by a storm. She swims to hold onto some debris and finds an unconscious Mashas, the soldier that captured her. He's freezing to death, so Nena uses her heart trender powers to speed up his heart rate and get his blood flowing. When he wakes up, he falls into the water as he calls Nena an evil witch, but he realizes they need to cooperate to survive and climbs back on the debris. Na will keep his heart pumping while he swims them to safety. Eventually, they reach the shore and go looking for shelter in the mountains. Unfortunately, it's too late for a healer to save Luda. Then Kirian tries to warn Bra that the king is coming after the Gisha to kill them all, and Bra blames him for it, pointing out he showed too much of his power and scared the king. She wants them to escape together, but Kirigan refuses and wants to form his own Gisha army following the notes left by his grandfather, the Bonesmith. Ignoring his mother's warnings about the dangers of such magic, Kirigan finds the Bonesmith's journal and recites a spell that turns his veins black and makes him more powerful. At that moment, a bunch of soldiers surround the sanctuary. So, Kirian goes out and shocks them with his improved shadow magic. As he kills them, he loses control and expels a bunch of black smoke, which creates the fold, transforming all the people there into Vulcra. The only survivor is Bagra, so Kirigan picks her up and runs away. In the present, Alina and Maul finally find the stag in the forest. Alina can't bring herself to kill it, So instead she approaches the creature and touches its nose, causing her to glow. Suddenly, the stag gets shot and Alina is knocked down as Kirigan's troops show up. Maul manages to shoot a soldier down, but before he can do more, Zoya uses her wind magic to stop him. The soldier recovers and reveals to be a heart trender who shoots Maul and starts torturing him with magic. Alina cuts in and knocks everyone down with her magic before rushing to Maul's side. At that moment, Cryan arrives and tries to use his magic to finish the stag. So Alina runs to create a shield around the creature and Maul. However, Kirian points out that Maul will die soon. So he promises that he'll have his healer save Maul if she gives him the stag. Alina brings down the shield and Kirian immediately murders the stag while the soldiers capture Alina. Maul is healed but captured as well. Later at the palace, Alina is shackled and unable to perform magic. David places the antlers on her chest and a piece of antler bone on Kirian's hand. Then he performs a ritual linking the two. The antler pieces sink into their skin, bonding them. Now, when Kirigan touches Alina, he's able to access her power. The next day, Alina is taken back to Kirk. Jenna visits her and informs her that the king has fallen ill, so the Operat is ruling in his stead. She also reveals she's been promoted to general, and Alina realizes she's always been spying for Kirigan. It was she who poisoned the king. Meanwhile, Kaz's group thinks of using the train to return home. However, they find a bunch of soldiers blowing it up. They have no other choice but to infiltrate a skiff to be able to cross the fold. They knock out a few rich people on the street and steal their fancy clothing with their tickets. In the evening, Maul finds Yesser's goad and the bullet he left on her collar. He uses the bullet to break his shackles and manages to escape. The next morning, Kaz's group is surprised to discover that they'll ride the same skiff as Kirigan and Alina. Once everyone is aboard, Kirigan keeps her chained to the deck, hiding it with her dress. Mala manages to sneak aboard, too, and hides in the hull right before the skiff enters the fold. In the snowy mountains, Masha's and Nina finally find a town and stay in a hotel where they fantasize about running away together. They go to a pub to grab a bite, but Masha suddenly faints on the table. It turns out a heart trender sent by Cryan has found them and is using his powers to keep Masha's down. Knowing she can't beat him, Nena yells that Masha's is a slaver and everyone in the pub takes out their weapons because they want the bounty. A Fugisha come out to help their commander, but they can't fight these many civilians outside the borders without making it a war crime. So they let Na and Masha's go. In the fold, Kirigan uses Alina's power to create a tunnel of light for the skiff to go through. Kaz's group goes below deck to hide because Kaz is sure Kirigan is planning something evil. At that moment, Enage finds Maul and brings him out, but they quickly realize they want the same thing and team up. When the skiff is about to reach West Rifkin, Kirigan orders it to stop and sends his shadows toward the city, making them stronger with Alina's power. She tries to stop the shadows with her light, but Kirigan stops her and lets the darkness destroy it all. Zoya feels betrayed because she has family there and thought Kirigan would truly destroy the fold. Kirigan announces to the diplomats that he controls the fold now, so no country will threaten Rivka again. Suddenly, Maul comes out and shoots a few soldiers, but before he can reach Kirigan, a heart trender knocks him down. Alina wants to help him, but if she gets distracted, the tunnel will fall and she must keep it up to protect everyone in the skiff. The diplomats try to stand up to Kirigan, telling him that he isn't a savior, but a threat, so he makes the harder kill them, too. Meanwhile, Zoya tries to summon the wind to push the skiff toward the city. A soldier tries to stop her, but Enage appears to fight him. She manages to defend herself pretty well and lands a few hits, but eventually the soldier reveals to be a harder two and uses his powers to stop her. Suddenly, Zoya blows him away, letting a Vulcra take him while she gets the skiff moving again. At that moment, Kaz and Ipper appear on deck and shoot down the harder. Kira begins reflecting the bullets with his shadows, and Enage uses the distraction to land a dagger in Kirigan's torso. However, he tears it out and heals himself with the black veins. Then, Kiron brings the shadows back onto the skiff and Avalra knocks Zoya down. Inage tries to throw knives at the monsters and loses them all. But when Avalra is about to kill her, KZ hits it with his cane. As Alina panics over Maul, she suddenly has a vision of the stag who motions to the knife Kirigan dropped. After the vision ends, Kira reaches out to her. So, Alina grabs the knife and stabs him through the hand, removing the fragment of the antlers. Now she has her power back and uses it to send all the shadows and Vulcra away. She explains the stag chose her and absorbs the rest of the antlers into her body. With Kirigan distracted, Maul pushes him off the skiff, falling as well. While they start fighting hand to hand, the Heartrender attacks Alina, causing her to drop the light. Jesper shows up and opens fire, quickly recovering from the Harder's attack to shoot him and kill him for good. Maul and Kirian continue to fight, and both of them are hurt, so their moves are quite clumsy. After lots of struggle, Kirian tries to use his magic, but he's too weak to control the shadows. Maul distracts him with a few shots until a Vulcra appears from behind and captures Kirigan. As the Vulcra begins surrounding the skiff, Maul goes back and wakes Alina up. She immediately reactivates her magic and allows them to safely arrive at West Rivka. Moments later, the group rests by a fire and discusses what to do. Jesper and Inage don't want to kidnap Alina anymore, but Cass isn't convinced, so Alina buys his silence with her jewels. Zoya wants to find her family, but before leaving the group, she's grateful for what Alina did. Then the group goes to the nearest town, where they get aboard a ship to Ketterdam. In this very same ship, Moshes is chained up in a cell. Nena tries to tell him that this was the only way to save him, but he doesn't believe her and attacks her, thinking she's betrayed him. Na promises she'll solve this before she returns to the deck, where she overhears saying they'll need a Heartrender for his next plan. Maul and Alina agree that they'll run for a little while, but once she's strong enough, she'll come back to destroy the fold. Speaking of the fold, Kirian comes out severely hurt but alive. He mumbles the word follow, and a bunch of creatures come out as well. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.